to go back out to referendum on both Soundview and NAB sewer projects. Title sheet is called Securing Oldtime's Future. And this is again for the WPCA sewer system referendum. This is an overview. To go over that, we'll be discussing the existing funding status, why an increase is necessary, economic, environmental, and public health impact, and what 17.1 billion spending will achieve. Benefits to the community. Sewer systems, unlike septic systems, carry effluent away from the originator to a treatment facility. So, in that regards, we protect groundwater in the Long Island Sound. It increases property values, enables homeowners to improve their property without worrying about septic system constraints, and it reduces a public health risk. Current system challenges. We have aging septic systems in shoreline neighborhoods. There are environmental risks to the Long Island Sound. Rising groundwater contamination concerns. And regulatory compliance requirements from DEP. This is a chart. It's a comparison of spending authority approved in 2019 referendum to requested spending authority in 2025. The final amount being financed in and around 2027 after the project is completed. So we have to go out to referendum for the complete spending amount that the project would cost, regardless of the reimbursements from DEP. So in 2019, we went out for a referendum of $9.5 million to fund the sewer projects. Those were based on engineering estimates at the time of COVID. After COVID came, we had hyperinflation, we had material interruption of material streams. So we went forward with bid, our bid, our internal infrastructure bid, and we got priced, and we're part of the shared infrastructure, which is a pump station, a shared gravity truck, and the force main going to each line. When all those bids came in, our share of that, WPCA share, would be 7.6 million, would be 17.1 million, which is 7.6 million higher than originally estimated. The DEP, because this project is one.
Actually, Martha, I think I need to do something up here. Pat, can I have your assistance? They aren't, because I think it has me as the organizer and I need to make
I think you just did it.
I've unmuted myself, but I think it's me, and I don't think where I am is. I should go down.
Nope. Nope, close that. Yep. Go to the meeting itself on the Google. And click the mic right there. There you go.
Then we go back to that. That's it.
Can you hear me at phones? Yes, yes.
So I think we still haven't solved the sharing, Pat. I think I'm now sharing. So I'm going to try to catch up with where you are, Steve, for them at home.
Okay.
Are you sharing it here?
I'm sharing to the online, and he is sharing to the audience. So it's a Band-Aid, but it's working at the moment. I think we go.
We all set?
Okay, so let's go back to slideshow so they can.
What can we do with that? 7.6, yes.
So this is a chart that basically compares the original referendum amount of $9.5 million to a requested additional 7.6 million plus 9.5 million, which is 17.1 million. But the key figure here that you have to look at is the final financed amount. The state is offering us 25% forgivable loan to perform this project, as well as a 25% grant. So the amount expected to be financed at the end of this project by Soundview and Area B residents is $8.55 million. That would be broken out by 270 EDUs and stayed at 2% over 20 years. It's lower than the original referendum amount, but state law requires that you get spending authority for the full cost of the project, even though it's going to be granted out. What is an EDU? I've had this question a lot. I think there's some confusion, so I want to explain it. An EDU stands for equivalent dwelling unit. The EDUs for each WPCA, Soundview, Old Shores, Miami Beach, and Old Colony, were determined by the professional engineering firms that were hired by each WPCA. The total EDUs for all 4 WPCAs is 909. The total EDUs Woodward Current determined for Soundview and Area B is 207. Woodward Current is our engineering firm. OIM's percentage of the shared infrastructure was equal to 270 over 909, which equals 0.297 or 29.7%. So if the question is why are we paying more than 25% if there are 4 people, this is the reason why. We have more users than some, and our expected usage of that system will probably be more because we have more users in the system. All WPCAs have determined their percentage of the shared infrastructure in the same manner. So if you add up everyone's percentage, it equals 100%. Varying from 20.1% to 29%. So this is a revised referendum summary. I'm not going to read off all the numbers. I just want to go over some of the costs that, well, they're all important. We have internal infrastructure, which is the gravity line from basically your house, though we own from property line, we mean the WPCA owns from the property line into the collection system you own from your property line into the house. But, the internal infrastructure, we have design costs of $615,000. We have construction bid of $8,551,000. We have some contingency for change orders. We have engineering services. And so our total cost for the internal gravity portion of our system is $10 million, basically $10,500,000. Half of that is $5,250,000. Because again, we have a CWF grant for 25% and a CWF renewable of 25%. Shared infrastructure costs, forest standard dioxide was 9 million, let's say 900,000. Shared trunk was 5,700,000. Pump station was 4.1 million. It totaled 19,671,000. And again, matching funds 25%, get you down to 9,835,000. Now of that 9,835,000, we are responsible for 29.7%. We have added in some 5% for contingencies and change orders, design and contract administration. That total now is equal to 22,271,000. The total expected to be financed would be 11,135,000, and 29.7% of that is 3,307,000. So our total infrastructure, our total internal infrastructure of 10,500,000, and total shared infrastructure of 6,614,000. I'll have to explain that number. That is what we're going to spend. That's why it's 6 million, not what we're going to finance. It's 20. That number, 6,614,000, is equal to 29.7% of the 22 million. So the total referendum request is 17.1 million because we added up. So if we go, so we have a total yearly payment at 2% for all users at $521,795. We came up with, and this is a preliminary source 69 EDUs based on our algorithm. So the yearly cost for the assessment is $1,939.76, and that is per EDU.
Can you raise that up a little bit? Thank you.
I think that's.
Oh, you can.
I brought up.
Down, still got it for a minute. Tell them, way down at the bottom, 1,939, and this will be on the website tomorrow morning. So that you can read it at home.
Expenses not included in the assessment fees, but could be. Connection charges to New London. We have a contract with New London to, it's basically a buying fee, but it's really there to, it's figured, so the buying fee is $712,819. That's being financed by the city of New London at 2.625% over 20 years. That equals $116 million per year per EDU. Connection charges to the slime is a little more difficult because they base on flow, but this was taken off their worksheet. It's $272,010 financed at 2% over 20 years. That'll equal $61.13 per year per EDU. So the total connection charges per EDU per year are $230.66. The connection charges are not just something that they charge. It represents a portion of their capital costs that they use to build their system. So, East Line
has a system that we're tying into that we're going to be using. They are charging us $61.13 per year per EDU for 20 years to pay for some of the capital expenditures that they had expended earlier that we're now using. That's the same with New London. User fees per EDU. User fees will be comprised of all costs necessary to properly operate and maintain the system, and will be split between internal infrastructure, 100%, and shared infrastructure, 29.7%. These will include electricity, dioxide purchase, land rental, taxes, grounds maintenance, annual inspections, insurance, third-party O&M company, and other incidentals. From the previous slide, $230.66 will be for connection fees to each line and one.
Give me one second. Katie, people at home are texting to say that the slides are no longer being able to be seen again.
Can't hear you down here.
We're just trying to fix a technology problem for those people online.
While we're waiting, can I ask a question?
I'd rather you just wait for questions till afterwards.
Okay.
I think we're okay. Martha, can you text whoever? Text
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
User fees for EDU configured. So at 300 gallons per day for 12 weeks, 150 gallons per day for 40 weeks. The London usage fee is $168 per year. An estimated flow of 6.5 million gallons for all of the line anticipated usage is 25. WPCA is responsible for 29% of that, 29.7 or 7,607, 28,018 per EDU. WPCA will also be responsible for 0.6534%. That's 29.7% of 2.2% of East Line and 0.5% of New London capital improvements. This is equal to $24.20 and $18.51 $18.51 respectively per $1 million, which will most likely be financed over 20 years, 60%. So if East Line does an improvement in their system that that we will use down the line, they would finance that through CWF funding and would charge us $18.51 per million that they finance, which would then be financed for us. But they would be financing the whole thing, and charging us 2% over 20 years. Same with New London. So the minimum expected user fees in this calculation is $382.52 plus other incidentals. And Point of Woods, I just want to point out, Point of Woods spends $520 per year per year. The DEP forwarded me this this week because I requested a better handle on cost of EDUs. So they did a cost per EDU for us. It's by the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection. So they have contract operation fee at $45,000, gas oil for generators at $2,500, engineering and legal at $5,000, audits at $5,000, sinking fund at $35,000, state fees and permits, 2,000, billing and collection, other equipment and calibration, chemicals, connection fees, East Line and London, other, the total came to $344,160 cost per EDU, and that is the share, so it's divided by 909 EDUs, is $378.61. On our internal infrastructure, they go through the same basic format. It comes out to a total per EDU of $42.35. So an annual cost per EDU is $410.34. And the annual cost per EDU for treatment to London is $154.19. So the DEP came out with a total cost, which would be a user fee, I guess, per EDU of $564.52. That is basically the cost per EDU to operate and maintain our facility. Expenses paid out of Old-Line General Fund not being passed on to end users. There was a one-time buying deposit to enter into the IMA with London of $10,000. Reimbursement to the Beach Association WPCAs for their costs to develop IMA with East Line. That was $66,600. There was a reimbursement for CWF, that's Clean Water Funds, uncovered expenses to the Beach Association's WPCAs of $39,245, and all legal fees in developing IMAs and CSAs, assessment reports, special testing, etc. So these costs aren't included in CWF funding. We reimburse the beach associations because we originally were not involved in this as a combined group. We were out by ourselves. We felt it was beneficial for everyone to share the cost of the pump station and force main and trunks coming into the pump station, so that Old-Line WPCA wouldn't have to build their own pump station and use their own force main down to East Line. It saved us a lot, probably $15 million, based on what we're paying with the cost of shared infrastructure was. As a 29.7% stakeholder, we have to reimburse the beach associations the money that they put up front to develop the IMA of East Line and to cover some of the uncovered costs that were not covered by CWF funding. I put this slide in because some of the public have mentioned that we spent $4.1 million to date. This was up in the day 2021. I forgot to change that. But this is a breakdown based on CWF funding documents. The shared infrastructure basically spent $1.1 million. Old-Line Shores has basically spent $667. Miami Beach, $696. Old Colony, $571. And Old-Line WPCA, $615. There's also been out-of-pocket expenses, and it's approximately $406,000. So when you add all that up, it comes out to $4,047,000, which is approximately $4.1 million. So when Rich was speaking to you today about how much money was spent on the project at that time, this is what he was referring to. Why the increase is necessary? Inflation, 40 to 50% rise in construction material costs from pre-COVID to post-COVID. Original estimates were developed by the engineering groups over a decade ago and assumed a steady 2% inflation rate and did not anticipate a period of hyperinflation. Who pays for this project? I know we're getting to where everyone wants to know. So initially, the project was being funded through DEP using CWF funds. This is a revolving program in which funds are lent out for construction, and then repaid by the users in most cases. The WPCA will assess each property owner based on the EU system that was developed by its governing WPCA. Each property owner has the right to pay their loan back over 20 years at 2% interest. It is the intent of the O-Line WPCA to have the end users pay for the cost of this project. O-Line WPCA is requesting higher spending authority, though the amount being financed is still under the original referendum amount of $9.5 million to state matching funds. Mike?
Doesn't pick you up when you're down.
What happens if the referendum doesn't pass? We risk EPA DEP fines. Most likely, will be issued a consent order from DEP instructing sewers to be installed. We will undoubtedly lose 25% renewable loan. I don't see that being kept on the table much longer. Delays increase costs over time, and there's still continued environmental and property risks. When I presented this to the WPCA for comment, one of the comments was, why is it so, doom and gloom or whatever, doom and gloom? And I didn't put any positives. I really don't see any positives if it fails. I just don't see a positive outcome from not passing the referendum. So I can't put something down. The next steps, I've presented to the BOS and presented to the Board of Finance. I'm doing the informational meeting tonight. I believe the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance are going to schedule meetings soon to push this forward into a town meeting, where at the town meeting, you would be voting to either send this to a referendum or not send it. Then there will be a referendum vote within, is it 10 days? After at least 7 days. At least 7 days, with no more than 14 days after the town meeting vote. Out of where you vote at the middle school between the hours of 12 noon and 8 p.m. Absentee ballots will be made available. In conclusion, $7.6 million investment now secures $17.1 million in infrastructure. I should say an additional 7.6 million. It protects our environment, health, and property values, and there will be a long-term savings for some in the area of these residents. There's some question and answers. I'm more than happy to take some of your questions, but these are some of the questions that people have asked after the last presentation to the Board of Selectmen. I've kind of combined them and we'll go through them rather quickly. I'm here 6 months, so what do I have to pay? Same money that year-round people do. Shouldn't that be broken down? There are two aspects to cost. There's the cost assessment and user fees. The assessment cost is based on EDU and reflects the increased value that a property realizes after sewer installation. And two, user fees will be based on usage. So your being a 6-month resident will most likely lead to a lower bill than a year-round resident. How can we move forward with a referendum without knowing all the numbers? What happens to O-Line's costs? Miami Beach or O-Line Shores does not participate. The town of O-Line held a referendum when the only available numbers were estimates. Today we have every number that will be included in sound view and area costs. Internal infrastructure for shared infrastructure bids have been received. O-Line WPCA has based the figures that being provided that lead to the request of total expenditure of $17.1 million, with $8.55 million being financed and $8.55 million being granted. is that if any other entity currently expected to be in the shared infrastructure doesn't participate, we would need to go back out to referendum as there would not be enough spending authority. So Miami Beach has bid their project, their evaluating bids have been August 19th. Olam Shores intends to bid prior to our contract award. But I guess what I'm saying is we've based all our numbers off of 4 users. We own 29% of the system. If someone drops out, we would own more of the system and it would cost more, which would go over our requested spending authority of 17.1 million. So we would be able to go forward with the project. So if someone drops out or isn't in it, we would either need more spending authority or we wouldn't be doing the project. Where's the oversight of the WPCA? Where's that plan? How is the money managed in the WPCA? This process, my giving informational meetings, going before the board of selectmen, before the finance, that's all oversight by the town elected officials. The WPCA holds regular meetings in which the first selectman is usually present. We publish minutes to all our meetings and present to the BOS public when requested or when we believe it is necessary. This process has been going on for over a decade. And while some may not like the direction sewers, it was the WPCA's last resort after presenting alternate waste disposal ideas that were not accepted by the DEP. The plan is to follow DEP direction until otherwise requested by town leadership. Money is managed through the town budgetary process each year. The budget and audit of funds spent are available in the town report each year. Question: what are some of the expenses that each household will pay? The household will have to pay user fees, which are itemized in the presentation, amount to $564.62 per EDU. Another cost associated with hooking up sewers is hiring a contractor to install a lateral from the household property to the house and then abandon the existing septic system. I have spoken personally, I've spoken to several contractors that indicate an average home in Soundview and Area B would be $4,000 to $5,000. But others have indicated they receive quotes for $8,000. The WPCA will work with the community to try to reduce the cost in hiring a contractor to hook up. We having thought about inflation, hyperinflation, how it will affect this project. There's contingency built into the budget itself to account for unknowns. I can state with a high degree of confidence that we have enough funds in the budget to address any escalation of costs due to inflation. Question: why are we embarking on installing sewers? Have we explored other methods of sewage disposal? Most of the sewers in the Soundview are non-conforming, meaning they do not comply with current health department septic standards for one reason or another. Olam WPCA proposed several alternate systems to sewers, and the DEP did not accept them. After discussion with our engineers, it became clear that the only system the DEP would accept was sewers. We discussed fighting that outcome, but felt that in the long run, much money would be spent fighting the system that we would most likely end up installing. Can you provide accurate estimate of your user costs we will have to pay for? So the answer is I've included in this presentation $564 and $1,936 per year on the set value. That's about $2,500. Jim Lamppost gave me a spreadsheet Sunday night that he had done some of these figures. He is up at like $3,000 a year. I'm at $2,500. I think that's some of the numbers in there. And he assumed I'm reflective of what's going to happen, but regardless, his figure I think is his figure would be $252 per month and minus $200. So, you know, I'm not trying to say it's not a lot of money, because it is, but in the long run, you know, I just had a gentleman come up to me before the meeting, say, spent $40,000 on the septic system. You will be paying less than that, and he had to pay it all up front. You'd be financing, over 20 years. And I want to go back to the EUs that we did, that we figured. The goal was we've had EUs figured once before by the previous member, Frank Chan, and he tried to take the highs and lows out of the EDUs. So he had a whole formula that many people found confusing and were unhappy with. We tried to come up with an easier formula to understand and also capture what basically what it would capture a fair amount for the individual house. So a 4-bedroom house is going to charge more than one EDU because if they have to replace their septic system, that septic system would cost more because it would have to be larger. And in this case, maybe even, I don't know, you know, it'd have to conform to the state regs. But so there's our system, I think, more accurately reflects what it would cost a house to change out their septic system if it failed, as well as some of the mixed use homes and properties, as well as commercial. So, you know, we have 60% of the homes down in some area B will pay one EDU. The remaining 40% pay more up to now three EDUs. We've capped it at 3 EDUs, and those are for some of the larger commercial properties. So anyway, we spent 1.39 million, and what portion of that will be paid back to the end users? Thus far, Line WPCA spent 615,000 for CWF funds, and 1.1 million is derived from internal infrastructure, totaling 29% of it. So it totals $939,000, paid back 2% over 20 years. Once the sewers are installed, these design loans will be incorporated to construction loans that Line would be responsible. That's the 8.55 million that's being financed. Any other expenditures by the Line WPCA will come from general fund, which is funded by all the taxpayers in Line. WPCA explore alternate methods for sewage disposal besides the new London treatment. The Line WPCA spent funds from its general fund budget that looked into other alternatives besides sewers. We proposed various single septic systems as well as a community leaching field design that would be located at the abandoned Cherry Stones. The DEP did not accept any proposals that were presented and indicated that they believed sewers were the only long-term, least expensive solution. Perhaps the Line WPCA should have fought back, but at the time, sewers were in favor of the town leadership, and we were requested to investigate the installation of sewers. Question: whatever became of Mr. Potter's presentation on alternate disposal systems? The Line WPCA is under an administrative order by the DEP to continue along the path of installing sewers. The WPCA also listened to Mr. Potter. He admitted it was probably too late in the game to propose alternates besides sewers, and that the Line WPCA should have fought more diligently against the DEP. How is the shared infrastructure cost divided among the WPCAs and who is responsible to administer the law? The Line WPCA is responsible to the CSA to pay 29.7%. Our share of EDUs over the total EDUs of the final cost after grants and forgivable loans. As of today, I do not know of any outstanding out-of-pocket costs that would be levied on the end users. Old Colony Beach Club is the administrator and guarantor of the shared infrastructure loan. While they will administer the loan, the DEP will fold each member's percent based on the CSA of the outstanding load for shared infrastructure into each individual WPCA's internal infrastructure. We have CSA, it stands for Cost Sharing Agreement. It's a document that outlines how costs are going to be divided and decided. So it's not, Oak County will be the administrator, but they can't just spend the money. They have to, there's a group. There's one person from each group. Our WPCA will be represented by someone from Sound View that the WPCA appoints. And they'll work together to make sure costs are held in check and that the money is being spent properly. Other numbers presented in this presentation include costs already incurred and any outstanding costs. Yes, all outstanding costs have been included in all calculations that are presented by the aligned WPCA. In addition, the per EU cost includes financing at 2% over time. Question: will New London have enough capacity to accommodate OI and VAs? Also, East Lyme is requesting London to increase capacity. How would that affect us? The DEP license to New London affords New London an additional 300,000 gallons of capacity once Old Lyme and the other VAs took it. This was specifically done to ensure that New London would maintain capacity for Old Lyme and the VAs. While East Lyme has made a request to increase capacity, nothing has ever been discussed by New London. And even if it were to be decided to increase capacity, it would happen for at least another decade by the time studies, permitting, plans, and construction were undertaken. That being said, I calculated $42.71 per million per BDU financed at 2% over 20 years. And don't forget, we own 0.5%. And I think 0.69% of those two systems. So if the London increased their capacity, we would own 0.5% of whatever that is. So if it's $50 million, it would be $2.5 million financed over 20 years at 2% divided by $270. It's something to look at, but it's in the scheme of things, it's not as daunting as it may seem. How will the bids from Miami Beach and Lake Shores affect the referendum? The status of all bids that will affect the WPCA referendum requests are in. You know them and based our calculations on that. Miami Beach and Lake Shores numbers will not affect our numbers. How will empty lots be addressed as far as assessing the EDUs? Empty lots that zoning could not deny a permit to be built, 10,000 square feet or more, will be initially assigned 1 year. Question: can you provide the EDU list determination on your website? Yes, after being reviewed for accuracy. It will also include the formulas used for each category. I just had a chance to review it. Question: why are Soundview residents paying 29.7% of the costs when divided evenly would be 25%? That's just the EDU calculation totally used into total use. Total of system use divided into how much. What is the final cost per EDU if the assessment is paid back at 2% per year over 20 years? Take 1936 and multiply it by 20, come up with $38,720. Question: if we have 270 EDUs, how can we justify that some properties are 3 EDUs and yet 65% of our homes are only 1 EDU? Well, it's just that we try to even it out. There are some properties that are larger, and based on our formulas, they came out to 3 EDUs. We capped it at 3 EDUs. Based on our formula, it may actually be more, but we've capped each property at 3 EDUs right now. by almost 60% of homes in Soundview pay only when you do other properties pay certainly more. Like I said, but the WPCA has tried numerous methods to fairly assess the cost of the project. Right now, one EDU is assigned to a 3-bedroom or less, 1 kitchen structure. For each additional kitchen or bedroom, 0.25 EDUs would be added. Commercial properties started at 1.5 EDUs, but could be higher based on factors. Mixed use properties started at 2 EDUs and could be higher based on factors. The WPCA will have the calculations posted on its website with list of properties and EDU determination before the referendum. So if you have a 4-bedroom house with 1 kitchen, you would be charged 1.25 EDUs. If you had a 4-bedroom house with 2 kitchens, you would be charged 1.5 EDUs. Each additional kitchen or bedroom above the 3 and 1, respectively, is equal to a 0.25. Question: why is Hudson O'Neill's contingency number been reduced from 8% to 5%? Contingency numbers usually placeholders for variables not known before bid and help engineering firms estimate the cost of the proposed project. Once the project has been bid, the costs are known, contingency can be. And that, my friends, is the end of my presentation. Now we can have formal, I guess, in-house questions and answers.
If you'll raise your hand, Peter, I will get on to you.
Yeah, you go first and I'll get a mic to you.
I'm just wondering, if anybody else in this town would be able to set up the state mandates, one after the other, that could help in financial burdens and taxpayer citizens. We just got a 63% increase in the value of our home for the state mandate. I had to put a backup on my golf cart for the state mandate. And now I have to pay for sewers for a state mandate. If you look at their electric bills lately and see that 30% of the electric bill is combined public benefits, what are you getting out of that? Concurrently, if you look at your homeowner insurance policy, you're paying annually for the crumbling foundations in the northern part of the state. What do we get out of that? What we need is somebody who has the nerve to stand up to the state and say, you want sewers? Fine, you pay for the sewers. 100% for you over that. And that seems fair enough because Greenwich, Fairfield, Darien, Stanford, Milford, they all benefit from clean Long Island Sound. And what about the towns along the Connecticut River and the other rivers who flow into Long Island Sound? You want a clean Long Island Sound state? Pay for our law. You say that these fees are going to hold for 20 years. What about inflation factors? These fees are not going to increase annually over 20 years. Thank you.
Okay, well,
The answer the last question?
Yes.
Right. I would imagine that yeah, user fees are going to probably increase. Values will increase, everything will increase. I mean, that's the way things go. You know, if it's just 2% per year by the time, so if it's 2% per year, your user fee will increase, but relatively, your fee, your assessment fee is being reduced 2% a year because you're still paying a set figure. So if you're paying $1,936 per year in year 1, and there's 2% inflation every year, by year 20, that's been reduced 2% compound over all that time, because it's still a set fee, but your money's, your money is worth, I don't know, your money's worth less. Yeah. I'm saying user fees will probably increase, but your assessment fee won't. It's like it's like a fixed mortgage.
That's 25-year. You have
Hello.
Can you please tell me why, White Sands and Fox Nest is that in this project?
The DEP determined that further study was needed in Fox Nest, and they determined that white sand was not economically viable.
The same beach, I don't understand, they have a wall that goes right out to the sound all the way across New York that doesn't pollute, and it just comes to our way?
I don't think so.
No, so I don't understand, that's not a good answer, that, why they're exempt.
I'm-
So what happens, let me ask you this, now what happens if now, if, say, 10 years down the road, that they are forced to hook up? Are they gonna cut everybody in your check?
Well,
They have to hook up?
they cut the WPCA check, just like East Lyme in London charged us for their existing infrastructure. We would charge whoever tied in, if anyone ever did tie in.
Well, we're paying for, we're paying for it again.
I understand, but I'm not gonna be able to cut you a check. I'm gonna be able to reduce your user fees if we had an influx of money, but I don't think that money goes back out to the original users.
And then just another quick question, did you take into consideration the tariffs on all the material that's gonna be used for this project, that's all the tariffs that are just coming into effect right now?
We already have bids. We have set bids. They would have to prove an increase from June until October, and the DP might consider giving them more. It's just on material.
A lot of surrounding towns have been wanting to put in sewers and have ignored the DEP. And the DEP has done nothing to them so far.
Which towns, please?
Quite a few.
Which ones?
Say,
Well, Saybrook is putting in a sewer system.
by who? Who's paying for
They
it?
are putting, it's, the sewer system is defined as a system that collects sewage and transports it. I just talked to Paul, today at a meeting, and he said that they're most likely 400 homes will be hooked up into a system that's gonna collect sewage and, pressurize it and put it into the ground at a different location. So they fought it, and they're still putting a collection system in for the last 400 of 2,000 homes. Not Paul, Carl, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah, the end user can pay for that.
And why not go to town? If the DEP,
So
if the DEP found the violation to the town of Old Lyme, then how did the WPC make the determination that only the end users would pay for it? We were not just the infraction, the injunction was against the whole town of Old Lyme. Explain to me why the whole base, the tax base of Old Lyme is not splitting up the cost and just the end users are eating the cost. Can you please explain that?
in general, that is how the system works. End users pay for
That
it.
was.
So
your decision.
It was the WPCA's decision to charge end users. You will not have to pay anything over the increase in your assessed value. That's why it's called an assessment. So if you own a home that's worth $300,000, we did an assessment, a guy went around and said, that's done, I don't know, 90 times, says the average increase is between 7 and 12%. So if you want to fight the assessment saying my home didn't increase by what you're charging, that is why usually the end users pay for the assessment. Because why would I, as a taxpayer, pay for the increased value of your home?
Because the town was a violation, not just streets.
No, the DEP is cited that area. They haven't cited the whole town, they just cited Soundview and Area B.
But they're public roads, sir, and they're public beach. It's a public beach and it's public roads. Therefore, everyone has the access to it, everyone can use it. When the bridge breaks down 18 miles away, they don't say, hey, you know what, Sebastian Pico, you don't use that bridge, so you don't have to pay the tax burden that went to you from your taxes that went pay that bridge. We're gonna deduct that, and now we're gonna use that for something else. They don't say that. So then tell me why public streets, public beach, and now only the end user rather than the whole town. That's a contradiction.
I know that, I can understand what you're saying, all right? All I can say is that the end users are the ones using the system. I can't go to your house and use your facilities. I don't think.
But the roads you can use, right?
I can use them.
Did
But I
they
pay,
dump the cost?
I pay for the road. I pay for the road through taxes.
So did they deduct the cost and repair of the road on this project? It's spread out.
The project includes redoing all the roads.
I know, so that's what I'm saying. We're paying for that. The public streets, and we're paying for that.
Infrastructure.
And that, how can that be? Explain that. How can that be? When the snowplow comes, they don't send me a bill.
Well, I mean,
Good question.
so it's a fair question. I mean, that's just the way construction is done. I mean, if you want a trench down the road and trenches going across it, then I guess, you don't have to redo it. It's just that.
Tax base for all the people to pay.
All
For
right.
the road, the roads.
We need.
I'm not going to, yes, and I'm not going to be able to answer your question to your satisfaction.
We have someone over here that might ask a question.
The, on back of his question, he's saying that the end user is the guy that's paying for everything and not the entire town. And I can understand that. So, this is not a question, but a comment. I don't have any kids in the school, but I'm paying.
Ask the question why you keep rolling your eyes.
Please, can you just wait for a mic so that, because then it picks up on video, I mean, everyone can hear your question.
Thank you, Mike, over here.
I'm coming.
I'm wondering why you keep rolling your eyes every time somebody asks a question. Seeing that we're the ones that are spending the money and you obviously, I don't believe I'm rolling my eyes, you are. Just like you just did right now. You're doing a great job. Thank you. That was, I guess.
I want to go back to what you said, he rejected alternate proposals, and I know what Jerry saw about that. That was 15 years, and they only thought sewers were the answer to our problems, but that was 15 years ago. Today, there are so many systems that are working in other shoreline communities. So I think seriously taking a look at those systems would have benefited us. Another thing, at one point, DEP had issued consent orders to Clinton to sewer, and they have not. With another person here mentioned that. Instead, they chose to address their issues and updated septic systems. Also, Old Saybrook, you mentioned Essex. Old Saybrook, I understand, maybe you have more information than I do, but they're upgraded 900 systems, septic systems. And I know friends who did that. They got together with people on their street, 5 or 6 of them, and they upgraded their system, and now they're all set. Apparently there's, I thought 100 people at the shoreline along Indian Town, and maybe properties along the shoreline need to address other systems. You said 400, I'm not sure about that. But why couldn't we do the same thing? You said we should have fought harder before. Why can't we fight hard now? What are the penalties that the town of Oakland is afraid of?
Well, I won't speak for the DEP, but personally, I feel as though if we don't continue, the administrative order says to continue down the path of installing sewers. That can easily change to a consent order that the beach associations have right now, that they have to install sewers. I'm responsible when I take my oath as a WPCA member, to uphold the state laws, regulations, and town ordinances. So no one has told me to not continue along this process. And so I'm supposed to continue on this process. If an administration told me, forget about sewers, we're gonna fight it, that's their call. It's not my call. It's a town call. I don't have any dog in the fight. I mean, if someone said, let's just stop this, if I was directed to stop, I would stop.
Well, the residents are saying that. Do they have a voice?
Well, the residents,
The end users, the end users who have to pay for it.
yeah, I'm sorry, they don't have as much say as town officials.
We have a question. Wait, hold.
So, see, what's going on here is that, you're kind of, managing our role, that stuff. You've been elected as a representative. And so you're the one who's supposed to fight for what the residents want. So when we're sitting here telling you these things that, hey, I'm going to save our plot and what, and got an alternative. How come these other towns fought the one? Now, if you're not the guy, then you're our person. You're hearing, how come we're not fighting hard for what these other towns are doing successfully, and we're not? Does everyone realize that this goes through the cost? This will be the most expensive sewer system that residents will pay for ever in the state of history. And we are just rolling over and taking it. We're not doing anything. We're just sitting here and taking it and saying, charge us whatever you want. And we're not fighting. Martha, or Steve, if you're not the guy to fight, you just said, we've got to speak to Martha. Well, Martha, we're speaking to you. And we're asking to fight. Because it's not right. Martha, you referenced a $2,400 number the other day. A $2,400 per year cost, which is what you referenced. You were talking about it. You were talking to Steve when we were in the other referendum, and you were saying, yeah, that $2,400 number, that's an important number. You remember that?
Right, I was talking about the some of the.
Yeah.
They were asked.
Right.
To that.
Right.
So.
So, you know where we are in the total right now? So Steve, you're 1980. Times 20 years is 38,720. You know what the financing costs are on that per year?
No. The 1936 includes the finance costs.
I don't think so.
Yes, it does.
No, because the financing costs.
No, you're incorrect, sir.
Steve, I've got a spreadsheet right here. I'll tell you, I know I'm a better financing person than you are. I know for a fact, because that was the most misunderstood. That was impossible to follow. It should just be one spreadsheet. Everything should be on. I don't know why that's not, but anyways. But the costs are at a minimum $2,800.
Okay, how do you get that?
Okay, so it's 30. You had 9,495. You go to your presentation. Go to your presentation. Okay, so where's you had the.
1939, 76.
Yeah, but that doesn't include financing. You had, yes, that's, those total costs only.
It's compounded yearly, not monthly.
No, I get that.
521,795. So
That is,
521,795.
the total costs are 9,495. No, just before the financing, 17 million, sorry. So 16 more. 17,064.
It comes out to half of that.
Yeah, 8532, right. 8532.
500.
And then we also have to add in the cost for East Lyman one of 962. Okay, I know it's financed at 2.65, it's close. It's close, whatever, it's close. So that comes to 9495 and we have to finance. Call it 9.5 million. The financing on that over a 20-year period, 18%.
But it's financing costs, it's not the financing costs.
There's no, see, 8532 includes no financing costs. There are no financing costs in it.
Right. But
Okay.
if you do 2% over 20 years,
Yeah.
the yearly payment is $521.
You're 100% wrong. Okay, your numbers are wrong, and someone should be checking these. Who is, that's another question I have. Who else is checking these numbers? Is it, are the other ones like the same numbers?
How is that wrong?
Because I calculated right here. It's right here.
You're right.
I'll put my spreadsheet against yours. I'll bet you $1,000.
Bring it on, baby. All right.
Okay, I know what I'm doing. Been doing this all my life. Okay.
Anyway,
Anyway,
the cost yearly or monthly?
Year.
So your end is 20?
the cost, the financing costs are 9,495. So the 85.
Wait, your my financing costs are not what you're saying. That is the financing cost from CWF.
Yeah,
That's it.
2%. 8532 at 2% per year. Okay?
Is what?
It's 11,290 per year per user.
11.
No, sorry, over the life. So it's 35, this is costing 35,000 per user, initial cost, all in. That's the 8,532 plus the 9,462 that are payable to East Lyman one.
Yeah, and don't include those.
I mean, it doesn't matter how you want to mince it.
Well, it's just, it doesn't matter on the calculation.
Okay.
You're now adding points and then telling me my math was wrong.
The number is accurate, and I'd like to actually go and look at the operating costs. There's an issue here. But the number comes to 2,800 per year, 2,780. Okay, that people are going to be paying for it. Okay, that's with the operating costs that you're using at 562 or 564, the financing costs, and this the principal payments. So that's 2,800 per year. And again, I'm happy to show these, Steve. I'll sit down with you anytime you want. We'll go over these with you and show it. It's very straightforward. It's not a hard calculation. Can we go to your operating costs?
This one?
No, this the fee schedule, a deep share. Yeah. So there's a sinking fund. What's the fifth line down? Sinking fund?
Yes.
35,000. So that's $35,000 a year. These systems are costing $2,000.
I didn't do it. That's probably computer down.
No.
It's the reason for it.
Pat here.
Well, okay, the sinking fund is $35,000 per year. Okay. Now, that's the capital reserve fund to replace all this equipment, right?
It's more than that. It's to replace, not, it's to replace it, probably not. It's probably more for emergencies and maintenance.
So where's the reserve, the capital reserve to replace this equipment when it goes down?
Well, you get another CWF loan and another money to replace the equipment. And then it's.
So that's not our fees though. That's not calculating our fees. Well, if you have one house, you're gonna put money away there, you're for a roof or whatever the long-term expenses are. Okay, we're gonna really,
Most people do that, or most people wait till the roof goes, gets a home equity loan and puts it in the roof fund.
I don't know.
That is probably.
I've got a research for it. So, and most WPCAs have the capital reserve.
Yes, we do have a capital reserve. What is $35,000 per year?
After 10 years, that's $350,000 for a system that costs $21 billion.
Okay. Okay, what?
That's please, I don't want you to bring my CPA up. So
I didn't catch your name, sorry.
My name is Mark Merrick.
Martin. Pump stations in general last between 25 and 30 years,
Okay, that's $5 million for the pump station.
okay? You don't have to replace the whole pump station, you just replace the components inside of it. Most of the pump station cost on this pump station is to put it in the ground.
Okay,
It's only something, please don't.
Okay.
Please. So when that time comes, 30, so what you're asking me is to charge everyone here that's already upset about the expenses to pay for the next owners. repair. So what generally happens.
I'm not asking that. I'm not asking.
Please. What generally happens is when that pump station needs to be rehabilitated, that's what they call it. You go out, you do your studies, you get your equipment, you go to CWF, DEP, they give you the funds for that, you start the process over. So maybe to replace this in 35 years may cost $5 million. I don't know, but you're not replacing the concrete, you're not replacing the generators, well, you might replace generation, but you're not replacing a lot of the solid infrastructure. You would go in there, and believe me, I've done this for 40 years. That was all I did for 40 years is go in and rehab pump stations. So I didn't have to dig big pits. I just go in and change the equipment.
Okay, so my point is, we're not asking you to charge for next users.
That's what I'm saying.
No. What we're asking is to be realistic about the costs, because if you look at most WPCA's in any town, even if you look at the Point Woods financial statements, they have a significant capital reserve, much greater than $35,000.
What is their cap?
I think they're above $1 million or $1.5 million.
They've been there for 18 years.
Right. So divide that by.
So maybe they're charging 40, that would be 900.
That's right, yeah. Well, I don't think, well, we have a shared infrastructure, a little bit bigger than theirs, and much bigger units to take care of. So my point of bringing this up is I don't think this then looked at hard of what the real costs are going to be. So we can leave it like this, we can charge people based on this, but what we're going to find out in 10 years, it's like being in a homeowner association, where you're gonna find out in 10 years, oh God, we gotta replace the pool, we never put any money aside. Or we gotta do something, we never put any money aside. That's what we're gonna find out. So all I'm saying, all my point is, I think we need to be a little bit more realistic, because I see no real money being put aside.
Mark, replacing something is analogous to renovating your house. Okay, you want to upgrade it from 80 to 2025, you go out, get a home equity loan, you renovate. That's what you do, but that's an emergency fund. It's not a sinking fund. And yes, New London, I think, has $13 million, but they have $300 million worth of equipment. They have 10 pump stations. So we have one pump station, almost all gravity, except the pump station, the bioxide feed, and the force main. Force main, 20 years, nothing's gonna happen. I can guarantee but nothing's gonna happen. Those things don't break down. I mean, none of the stuff deteriorates. It's your pumps and your instrumentation that you would need to replace. And it's not gonna cost $1 million for that.
I wasn't saying it forced, it's mainly shared.
Well, the force main is the share.
Well, I meant I mean the gravity.
Nothing can go wrong with the gravity. It's right in the ground. I mean, eventually a rock can dislodge it and breaks, but nothing goes, there's no mechanical moving parts in the gravity system.
Anyways, I'd like to go over what my costs with you to show that I think the costs, you're underestimating the costs. And then two, I think someone should have a harder look at this, because I don't think it's realistic.
Okay.
Well, okay, but is the WPCA as a committee looking at that?
I think Martha.
I think you just asked them to look at it. So I would have to say, no, we have looked at this. I've presented this 3 times now. No one's asking to look at those numbers and say, I don't agree with that. I don't know your expertise as far as the numbers.
This is the first time we've seen this.
This is the first time
That we've pulled the license, so. you know,
But my
having said this,
percent off to 520 or whatever, it's close to $564. I mean, I said it in many presentations, I hesitate to estimate some of the audit costs. I mean, I hesitate to, I don't know what they're gonna be, but
it's gonna be much better.
this is going to be, so Point of Wood spends $560 a year per year. All right, so I don't know why everyone, most towns in the area spend between $400 and $700. I don't know why people would think that this number is questionable, but you can question it. I don't know how you would want me to look at it. You want me to put more in the sinking fund? I will, put 50,000 in. That's another $20 more a year. I mean, you can argue over the numbers, but I believe, I wouldn't be up here backing that number if I didn't think it was accurate. I don't do that.
And we're not saying it's totally inaccurate, just is it realistic? We already said costs are gonna increase, so we all know it's gonna go. As long as we know that. We're realizing where we tell everyone what the annual numbers are. That 564 is gonna go up by 4 or 5% a year.
You know how much your electric bill is next month?
And it keeps going up, exactly.
You know how much your electric bill is next month?
So you're asking me to control the ambition?
Of course not. I'm asking us to be realistic when we present the numbers. That's all.
I believe these numbers are realistic, Martin.
Okay, fair enough. Move on.
But Steve, you'd be willing to sit down with me and Martin and go over the two sets of numbers so that we can see what he has on his spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So we can set that up.
Yeah, I think the difference in the financing numbers is adding New London speeds to it.
Well, I do think that I mentioned that mainly because I do believe that Old Colony and Old Shores and Miami are considering adding us into their fees for the people. And I think I mentioned that to you at our meeting when you presented this to us.
Yeah, and if you notice, I put that it could be included in the assessment. I don't have a problem including those in the assessment.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, when will the list of addresses with the associated EDUs be available?
When they're,
1 year?
no, when they are reviewed, prior to referendum, but when they're reviewed,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, I want to ask you a question. Listen, my question is very simple. I'm not talking millions. I'm talking maybe around $30,000 for a septic tank, brand new septic tank installed. All right, I just had it done. With my taxes going up and electricity and everything else, nobody can afford this. All right, so give everybody a break and stop trying to pass this on through. Thank you.
Yes.
The pump station number that you put up there, we know that Rainmaker is now taking over the pump station bid. That's an additional $712,000 that wasn't reflected in one of your sheets. We also know, someone asked about inflation or bids. We do know that bids are due to expire in October, May, maybe renewed. I'm not sure you have that in writing from each of the providers or vendors that they will extend without an additional cost. I haven't seen that in writing anywhere. The IMAs that do have an inflationary 2% increase written into them annually, and the usage fee is not set for any determined length of ID per year, if I remember correctly. So those usage fees, subject to whim of New London and East Line, which neither are regulated by the state. Most of the properties along the shoreline, as we all have felt, that being already, their assessments, appraisals have gone way up. Mine is up, I think, 80%. So to say that you're going to get much more of an appraisal after we've already been increased significantly within the next 2 years in order to support a $40,000 to $50,000 to $60,000 assessment, I think that's a stretch. I really do. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the state statutes will not allow you to do that, and there will be court challenges on that in particular. And I think that's it for me. Oh, POW. You keep mentioning the POW user fees per year is $560. I think at one time you told me that did not include the 1.3 connection fees. And we have about 1.3 million in connection fees that we have to pay. So referencing Point of Woods usage fees is not applicable because it doesn't reflect the same thing. Thank you.
Anybody else?
You can respond.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
Has anyone investigated, has anyone talked to DEP about consent, what kind of consent order they want to negotiate with them?
Well, I don't think you're actually negotiating consent.
Yes, you do. I worked at Department of Public Health for 24 years, and I wrote consent orders. And they can be modified, they can be negotiated. I would not fear the DEP imposing a consent order. I think the town would be well within its rights to talk to DEP about a consent order. And ask for a modification.
We don't have a consent order.
No, we don't. But I think, I'm voting no on the referendum for one thing. I've lived in Soundview for 6 years, and I've been trying to move into assembly. And I just think that the town should be more have more communication with the DEP about, the expense of this. And really, research what a consent order would consist of with that.
So we're the only town in the state that the DEP has offered 50% action fund. 50%. They're paying for 50% of this project. It's going to be granted out. So 17 million goes down to 8.55 million. 57 million goes down to 23.5 million.
Still gonna be the highest cost ever.
I'm sorry that it doesn't help people. I'm just stating the facts here. But so I only ask, what happens when your septic system fails?
Why do it? Remember, like we always have.
I knew it's going to cost, I knew it was going to cost more out of pocket than financing something.
Are we pollution yet?
I'm
They
sorry,
haven't shown us the figures for pollution.
from the what?
Pollution. You've never shown us the figures for pollution yet.
Yes.
Answers a couple of questions from people from the floor. In order to have a consent order from DEP, you need violations. There's, take for instance, one particular beach that got 12, 13 years ago, and they had a consent order. But guess what? There was no violation on file with the town health department. So the first step, you go to violations, and you issue another violation. The last resort is a consent order. So when there's no violations reported to the town of Lowline Health Department, or a massive violation of beach closures, whatever, there's nothing recorded, how in the world can you have a consent order? That was the issue in one particular beach town, location, which is to me a legal consent order, because that particular beach went to DEP, asked for a consent order, which is backwards.
if this DEP should issue a consent order, you don't go and ask for a consent order. And this happened 12, 13 years ago, one particular beach. And this is how this whole thing snowballed. The whole thing snowballed, which we're sitting here today. And that's where we are now. And furthermore, and you mentioned, other people are gonna, once if you get this sewer project through, other people maybe on 156, all in open land, cherry stones, empty lots. What they're naturally gonna tie into the sewer because they can maximize their apartments or condos per square foot, and they're not worried about a septic field or penny. So those condo projects gonna fall right after the sewer project with big money. And that's really comes down to.
That's right.
It's quite obvious, if you follow the money trail. And another factor is, everybody's scared of DEP. They don't know everything. Just for example, we had Zoom meetings with DEP. They couldn't answer half our questions. I asked DEP about septic leaching fields, how to do improvements for seasonal people. And they were sort of clueless what I was talking about. So I went down to Old Saybrook, Geometric, which is a leaching system, it has a massive square footage per foot and for small lots. And then, you know, funny thing, the woman down there in Old Saybrook told me, yeah, that's kind of strange. DEP just called us several days ago and asked us about our septic system. Don't you think they would know? So I presented the DEP alternates for fixing up your existing system and what we were to monitor and where we could please DEP. They came up with no answers whatsoever. Don't forget another thing. If you have sewers are not the left end result, because if sewer treatment plants fail, which they all do, we all see millions and billions of gallons going down the Indian River, the Thames River, and other rivers. But guess what? Thames River needs repairs. Okay, they're allowed by DEP to dump so much sewage into the river. Okay, so your sewage from our beach association, if they can't handle it. Guess what? They're gonna dump it in the river and it's gonna get right back to you. So it's kind of ridiculous on here. Always we gotta figure an alternate way that was never really explored 100%. Never. And it's been some of this data is outdated. It's unfortunate we are here today going through all this at this tremendous cost. You asked for me, Roger Zito. Roger.
So there was a point that you made that I just, Old Saybrook redid a lot of septic systems. Probably 1,200, 1,400 septic systems. But they increasingly, as they got closer and closer to the beach, they got increasingly more and more expensive, where they started spending $90,000 for septic system. At that point, they stopped and said, we need an alternate solution to go broke. And the alternate solution is to have a collection system that's attached to each house, going to a main trunk that goes to a pressurized septic field, I think, under the high school football. But that's cheaper than installing individual septic systems. So I can't. We tried. You're trying to use cherry stones. The biggest problem with that land behind there is not others couldn't use it. It was that it's next to a Connecticut water well field. And so they don't want to draw water off that field if we're disposing our effluent there. That was the biggest reason for that not being accepted. You say that we should go to the DEP and argue. As I said earlier, we could have done it probably at the beginning more than now. We're under an administrative order. I am sure that if we stop this process, a consent order will be coming. Now, if the town wants that, then we stop. But I'm not told to stop. So I'm not going to stop. I'm sorry.
And one more thing, what about the condo projects that will follow through?
Oh, so that was one thing I wanted to talk to you about. And I just, right. So this project has a stipulation in the loan that says we cannot increase population density. Okay, so no more, I mean, the properties that are 10,000 square feet above in Soundview could probably be built on. Anything outside might be able to tie into our system based on if it could hold all the sewage. I mean, I don't know if our pipe would be large enough to hold these large condo projects that you're talking about. But even if it were, we would have to have a bond or money to ensure that if the DEP came back and charged us for the 50% loan that they gave us, that we would be able to pay it back, which would probably make it financially unattractive to most developers.
Well, one more thing, Steve. People have existing homes in beach community and so forth. There's such thing as repair, replace, and pump. The town, or the DEP, or not the state health department can't evict you from your home because your septic system failed. So they have to make the septic system work the best of their ability. Even the way the setback requirements, you repair it, replace it, pump it out. But that's a prerequisite you do if a failed system. So I don't think these other things were ever on the table, if I can remember. And also, I don't see anything in the books about bacteria levels, failed system, massive failed systems, anything of that nature. So that's a prerequisite before you can say order consent order. With violations.
With all due respect, not complying with the administrative order is a reason to get a consent order. But to go to your point about not being able to condemn or kick you out of the house, there were 2 people that were kicked out recently down in Soundview because their system failed.
They were not kicked out.
They were what?
They were not kicked out. They
Are they living?
They're working on their system, and they're letting them data.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. I thought they, however, that was the other thing. So by statute, by Connecticut state statute, the DEP is the organization or department that is responsible to determine if you are polluting. By statute. So if they say you're polluting or you're going to cause pollution, you're polluting. I don't know. I'm not going to argue over the law. I can't argue over that. I mean, that's the statute. I can't control the statute. So I know you want to look at bacteria levels and everything else, and so did I. But in the end, the DEP is the one that determines statutorily if you're polluting.
When's the last time South Beach has been closed for polluting? When was the last time Hawks Nest was? Couple what, last year, a couple times?
Those are important questions.
Twice this year.
Yes.
I just want to know, are you aware of how many people have put in new systems in the past, 13, 15, 20 years since they did the testing? At least three of my neighbors out, and none of them spent more than 40,000. And that was
Where do you live?
area B.
Area B.
Right here.
Mhm.
Okay.
The next door neighbor was less than $30,000.
Area B is
We have,
has little larger lots and a little more land to work with. The geomatrix systems that Roger's talking about I put one in for $90,000.
the house next to me is 0.10 acres. And they have state-of-the-art ranch system, and it was less than 30,000. I talked to the guy who installed it.
Was it more than 20?
Yes, but it was less than 30, and you don't have to pay annual maintenance fees on it. And the other thing is, at what point does this become unaffordable? Because I know that the state order says that if you don't have to do this.
It's 2% of median income of Oakland.
Why the median income of the whole town when we all know it's not here? AKA Devil Beach is the lowest income in the.
Because that's the way it's defined
I think we're already at the shape. I think we already, this cost.
I don't think so. I think the median income is, $126,000.
Steve, how
So it'd be around $2,600 a year. And for just the assessment, user fees are not included in that.
Then why?
Yes, they are.
Agreements with the other towns not included. That is not an operating cost. We cannot construct this without connecting them. That is construction.
Yeah, that's right. This is the DEP thing that says that a connection charge referenced in CSG 7255 may be levied at the time of connection with the sewer and determined in addition to the benefit assessment.
That's our connection fee. That's our connection fee, not the connection fees to other towns.
Connection charges take basically two forms. The first, which exists while the debt for the sewer is still active, generally covers the municipal cost of processing a permit to connect, including the inspection of the connection. The second, which usually occurs after the capital debt for the sewer has been paid off, covers both the permit processing costs and lump sum payment in lieu of the benefit assessment. In the latter case, the funds collected in lieu of benefit assessment are available for use for any capital costs within the existing or proposed municipal sewer system. So we can.
The system's connection.
The WPCA, 3 or 4 years ago, decided not to put connection fees into the assessment. I will look into putting them in.
And that pushes up over affordability.
Not that I see, but that's okay.
Or the exact number.
Wow.
Puts us at the exact number of affordability, doesn't it?
I don't think so. I think it puts you about $200 less.
The majority of people that own these homes are senior citizens. They don't have $120,000 a year income.
I understand that. I was not the one that said, let's have sewers at Old Line. I'm just doing what we asked to do as a WPCA chair.
I don't think there's one person in this room that can actually afford this. It's more than our taxes.
More than my taxes.
It's more than our taxes. We live there year round. We are actually going to have to move out of this town if this goes through. And I've seen multiple homes for sale because people are terrified because they know they can't afford it. People are moving away.
And when they talk about affordability,
Yeah.
you're talking about 2% of, they said, off the whole town. But yet it should be off the end users, because they're the only people paying.
That's not how, that's all that. I didn't make up the affordability law or statute. That's way up in my.
That you put the WPCA, chose not to put it out the whole town. That's what I'm saying. So you want it both ways. You want to say, you're only liable to pay, but yet the affordability doesn't cover just you, it counts for everybody else. How can you have it both ways?
Martha, I got a question. I got a question for Martha. If you take it away from the end users and you put it on the whole town, what does that do for people in this town?
What would the cost?
What does the cost go? How much is my taxes gonna go up if you bring it to the whole town and take it away from the end user? Some of your people.
So if you take away the 270 EDUs from Sound View, just those, because the others are the private beach association. I don't know. I don't have a calculator with me at the moment, but give it to me tomorrow morning and I can have the assessor's office and the tax collector work it out for you.
It would add $521,795 to me. Yearly fee. I mean, your bill divided by your taxes.
So that'd be like what?
Right, so you divide that by how many people are in the town.
Fourth,
How many taxpayers are in this town?
45 plus, 4,500 plus.
So be about $11 a year. So $110 a year per taxpayer. Versus us paying $30,000 a year.
Just create a charge.
Excuse my.
We're quick to go up over $1,000 out of this year on taxes.
Let's take a look at some of we're paying for. Half these people get jobs in children, they go to these schools. Or that are going to these schools. Well, we pay for everything in this town. So you're telling me that the taxpayers in this town can pay $100 more a year?
I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. I said I would have to figure it out, so I have the exact number for you. That's what I said. And I just want to say that in the last 2 years that I have sat in at WPCA meetings, I haven't seen many of these faces at the meetings when they're discussing Soundview sewers. So I appreciate the fact in how you feel. I get it. And I have some of the same questions you have. And I said it when we had our meeting with Deep last year, when you were all invited. And I think it got a little crazy. Okay.
You saw Mary. I could go through everyone in this room. I just know all.
At the Deep meeting, but what about the monthly meetings when they're making?
Say like you didn't even.
I did. Sebastian, what did I say to Deep that day?
I heard, I don't know. And I really don't understand what you are saying.
Well, I'm sorry that you did. But I said to Deep that day, I said, you are taking people's livelihoods and you are telling them, and I think this is unaffordable for these people. And Nisha, at that point, said, well, they don't have to hook up right away. If they have a septic system they put in, she said, I don't see that we have to have them hook up right away. That is what she said. That's what she said. She said you could keep your septic system. So she said.
You would only say the hookup fee. You would still be assessed.
Should be charged.
I'm just saying what she said.
Okay.
That's what she said.
I'm trying to be clear. I want to be clear. I would still be assessed. You wouldn't have to hook up.
It's not really an answer.
Yes.
Can we
See, we've been going around in circles with this. I think bottom line is, this isn't gonna pass. And if it doesn't, what is gonna happen? The state gonna come in and lock our doors?
No.
That we can't stay here?
I
And the
Never
other
been done.
question
Never
is,
been done.
this, people have said here, you need to pressure the state as to what our alternatives are. This budget and this presentation is a lot of money. And most of us are senior citizens. And the younger generation that are coming in, they have kids in college to be able to afford this. So I think you need to go back to the state and pressure them as to what they're gonna do to help us. If they think we need these stores, then they have to come forward with some money.
But they came forward with another 25%.
Well, they have to come forward. This project has been going on for many, many years. I've been here for my life. I hate to say how old I am. This project had the town okayed it many years ago. We wouldn't be sitting here. So the town is kind of responsible too, that we're in this mess.
The town is responsible.
But I'm talking many years ago. I'm talking many years ago.
Just remember.
Yeah, the town just increased on assessment on $2,000. I don't know if there's any more services from the town. Why doesn't the town use that money?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of your question.
Her assessment just went up $2,000. More than 2,000.
And I don't notice any more services from the town, why can't the town use the increase in the assessment? They're doing the schools, like, taxes, taxes.
And then people have to stand up, because you have to understand that the mill rate went down. So your mill rate went down to next, so but taxes.
The taxes went up about 50%. A lot of, I've been in the town for 25 years, never saw anything close to that on reassessment. You couple glass with the sewers, you have people in big trouble in this town.
Is there anyone else has a question to Steve? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I have a question, and I haven't been to the state as far as who we not know. Who votes on this referendum? The whole town? So the whole town is voting on spending our money. Like, so we're outnumbered like 8 or 9 to 1.
Yes.
And we're paying this money for a system that is only for us. So if somebody wants to trade cherry stones and put 250 condos there, they're out of luck. So we can't get money from them, like some millions of towns, that's incorrect. I've said this 3 times tonight. If someone else wanted to connect to our system, and we had the capacity to do that, and there was a will to do that, 2 things would have to be met. One is we would have to look at population density, which is we are locked in to the population density that we have now. So if we go above that density, DEP could come back and take and demand the 50% matching funds that they gave us. They could demand that money back. So before we increase any type of population density, we would have to go to our attorneys and say, how do we protect ourselves if someone wants to hook in and we allow that? And I would imagine the way to protect ourselves is someone would have to issue a bond for the remaining amount of that note. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that we would charge that person just like East Line in London have charged us for existing infrastructure. So it's not like, oh, anyone else can use this.
That doesn't benefit.
Does that make sense? It could benefit you because that money now goes into the operating and maintenance budget. And if we have $2 million, it's $2 million worth of money for operating maintenance.
You're gonna be sarcastic.
So if it's $2 million, you may say.
I know, right? Maybe I should roll mine.
We may say that we're gonna reduce user fees or have no user fees.
You really think that would happen though?
I don't think anyone's gonna tie into the system, so no, I think this system is for Soundview and Area D and the other beach associations.
Martha, what it comes down to is you need to look into all of this. You need to put it to the town as taxpayers, pay this and eliminate it from us EDU users, and put it to the town. And I think it's bold that the town's gonna vote on my money.
And explain to them that it's $100, please, if it's $100, explain to the whole tax base that it's $100 increase compared to $40,000 house for a 500 square foot house.
The other towns just have a sewer district and they charge an extra mill on their taxes. That's what they do. I've looked into this. I know about this and it wouldn't be anywhere near what we're paying now.
Right.
That number you're giving me is almost as much as our annual taxes. That's like doubling my taxes on my tiny little house. Basically, they're glorified shacks. Let's face it, how many of us are in these tiny little shacks? They're tiny.
100,000 square feet.
500 square feet.
And that's my year-round home. That's all I live. I have nowhere else runs. A lot of people here have these are cottages for something. For some of us, it's our home. It's all we have. There is no, oh, just sell it or rent it out. That's it.
That's all we had. And you're talking more than doubling our taxes. That's the way you have to start looking at it.
And Mark, the state was just here, right? They were just in the library, they were just presenting, and they
Wait a minute.
who was, the two representatives were just here, the treasurer and Blumenthal, who was just the.
Eric, yeah.
Or whoever. They were just here lauding themselves on the budget. They've got $4 billion, and they're patting themselves on the back. And, you know, we're asking, say, hey, if you want to make this the most expensive sewer system, fine, but you guys got to help pay for it. You got $4 billion in the bank. Here you go. So we, you know, that should have been a question that should have been asked to them when they were here. We should push the state a little bit more. They have funds, we don't. They have resources, we don't.
So
We're happy if they think we're polluting, we're not, but if they think we are, okay, help us with the costs. You're $4 billion.
I have a question. I have a question.
go ahead.
I have a question. The letter from the DEP that started this project, what specifically was the date that it was sent to the town of Old? And what did it specifically say? Did it name each beach? And was it pollution? What did that letter specifically say that put us under this order?
I don't know. I mean, I'll answer, what did it specifically say? I have seen the letter, I've read the letter, but I cannot for the life of me know when it was written or the exact contents of it. But it is a consent order that basically states.
Consent agreement. It's called a consent agreement on the top of the paper.
That basically says, as long as O-Line follows the path, so let me back this up. There were engineering studies done to see by Woodward and Kirk.
But who ordered them to do those studies?
So the town at the time expressed interest in sewering Soundview.
The town expressed an interest?
The town, Bonnie Wienschneider expressed interest in sewering the beach areas. They asked us to get involved, the WPCA, which is the correct one. We hired an engineering firm that did studies down there. That's called an EIE study. It ends up being the basis for recommendations going forward. We recommended a community septic system. We recommended the geometric systems on properties. The DEP has a criteria. They say we want a long-term least cost solution. They didn't feel our solutions were long-term or least cost. So they said, put in sewers.
All this many years. And I have been told, because I never saw the letter, that it mandated the town of Old Lyme to put in sewer. I don't know that specifically Soundview was in there or the other beaches, and if they were, what was the reason? You know, I was told it's pollution. So if it's pollution, we don't know to this day if it's still pollution. And we don't know why white sands and Hawks Nest is not considered pollution.
No, I didn't say. So, please, I didn't say white sands isn't considered pollution. What I said is that the DEP determined that white sands was unaffordable. I'm telling you what they determined, not what I said. That's what they determined.
Why didn't you make Hawks Nest? Did they do a test and?
Hawks Nest, we did further testing, and the test results are with the state.
Is that correct?
I don't know.
When was the last passing on the town?
Yeah, what's the last measure?
I asked this question last year, and I said that I thought that the data that they were using to determine that we were polluting was outdated. And I asked Misha and Carlos, what's the possibility of getting it retested? And they both poo-pooed it and said they did not feel that it was necessary to do that. And please remember, too, they're not just worried about local, the Long Island Sound. They're also worried about the groundwater your wells are on, so that when they did the testing, they didn't just test Long Island Sound. They tested the groundwater on the street. Now that the time that they did the testing. I know you said that, but there are a few people that respond.
Go ahead. We're gonna,
Well, I've basically been here for 70 years. And basically what they want us out of Soundview area, they want to build condos over there at some point, and they just want us out of here, but they haven't proven that we've ever polluted. And we have never seen the figures yet. Where are the figures? And also, I'd like to see that letter.
Yeah.
Produce the letter so we can read it.
Absolutely.
I will go through the files and look for it and post it.
On the website.
On the website.
Can you publish that?
For all, the whole town, just this.
I have a copy of that letter.
thank you, Jim.
I have to go close the restaurant, so I'm not running out on everybody, but I do have to leave. I did want to say that Deep did tests on groundwater 15 years ago. One of them turned up 30, and we know the building that it was. And that building is now condemned. It used to be you walk past that building, you could smell the subject. They had a test pit right there. We've asked for retesting. And Dean tells us we're polluting by definition because of our density. So they don't care. So they don't care if the groundwater is clean or not. They don't care if the sound is clean or not. They're telling us that we're polluting by definition. And line is spokesman for Deep just said that if we're polluting or we have the potential to pollute, then there is no cap on affordability. So,
Yes, there is.
yes, there is.
It's law.
I know
It's
there
law.
is, but this is the spokesman.
Well, that's, he's wrong.
He's wrong.
I'll show you the law.
Yeah.
There's a cap on affordability,
So
absolutely.
it's like they're telling us, they're pushing this very hard. And they're not listening to the sort of, what I think our audience is sound polluted, no. Let's retest the groundwater, no, you're polluting by definition. So.
That bond, that's their tax base. From $100.
Okay, I think we're gonna take two more questions and comments. We are giving the board of selectmen a lot to think about. We will be having a special meeting, because we will discuss all of this and decide our path together. So I'm gonna ask for your comment and then one more, and then we're gonna wrap up for tonight, because tomorrow morning, all these little kiddos are going to come to school here.
I just have a point of clarification. One of the slides, you said something about you have to abandon your.
Oh, the mic, I can't hear you.
Yeah. That's understandable, I understand that. So when I abandon my septic tank, it just stays in the ground?
Yes.
They just want you to leave it there?
Well, so,
No.
I mean, you can choose to take it out, but normally what happens is it's pumped and cleaned. They poke holes in the bottom, and then they fill the rest of it, and kind of collapse it.
That's nothing to have that done.
That's part of your 5,000, my estimate of 5,000, Jim's estimate, other people's estimate of $8,000 to hook into from your house to the lateral.
Okay, so that $8,000 includes the abandoning my septic tank, and there's no other reason.
You said you did.
Well, it's a user fee, besides that one-time cost, there's a yearly user fee, which I think we said was $562.
Okay, but nothing else happens. There's no other, I don't understand how this is actually there.
Well, it's because it's disconnected from your house.
Yeah.
So what happens is, when you hook into our system, where your house, now goes into the septic system, they'll cut it at the tank, and they'll put a couple of 45s on and aim it towards the road where your lateral is. And so now the tank is just sitting there. And so you pump it out, or you usually pump it out before you pump that out, you clean it, and then you poke holes in it and cover it up. You poke holes in it so that it doesn't collect the water and make it like a muddy mess. No, because it's inactive.
So it's the $1,900 plus 500 and something, you're saying it still costs us still $500 to get.
That's correct, plus the 8,000. Jim came out with a total in cost of. Every house. The total cost of $40,000 over 20 years. So it's about $2,000 a year.
It's 65,000, it's not 40,000.
Thank you, Mark.
You want to do the interest and operating costs, give them the numbers.
Okay, our two comments over here, Dennis is on, both on the WPCA. So,
Yeah, I'm an alternate at WPCA, but it's a volunteer organization. If there are other people, Dennis is on it, Mary's on it, I'm not at Soundview. You're shooting the messenger. This is a volunteer organization. This has got to go back to the township and the select people. Right. The WPCA is volunteer. We're trying to follow the rules that were put in place, and that's it. So if there's a problem, it's up to the select people. You got to talk to the select people.
Just presented the problem.
Dennis, do you want to finish on?
Some people might know me, some people might not. Just look in the newspaper and it's like I have a second wife, her name is Mary Daly. A couple of things here. If he goes back to the slide and shows the forgivable loan, that loan is our taxes. The taxes we pay that the state collects, sitting there, offering to pay our bill so we can pay it again. That's state of Connecticut. You take away the forgivable loan, this project becomes immediately unaffordable with the bids that we have right now. Take away that money, do it. Tell the state, take it, we don't want it. And then we'll see you in court. I doubt the town of Old Lyme wants to see 200 appeals in circuit court over this project. It would put the whole town in a bedroom. The idea is, if they want to see a good school system, then the whole town pays for our septic system, just like East Lyme pays for their septic system, Waterford pays for theirs, New London pays for theirs, New Haven pays for theirs. I live in Newington, and we got a $12 billion bill from Metropolitan District Commission because they had to update all their sewer systems to split them from stormwater. If the town wants us to go, you foot the bill 100% and we'll tie in. Just remember that tie-in is on you, and it's not $5,000 like Steve said. We've gotten costs of $8,000. I got a cost of $13,000. Guess what? That's upfront money. That's money that you have to go to a bank and take out a loan if you don't have it in your savings account. So add that to the $40,000 that Jim says, and I believe what Jim has to say. Okay, so now it becomes a $50,000 bill. for most of us, 6 months a year. Ludicrous. They're gonna lose, and I can guarantee you, because I was on the building committee for this building, they will lose their funding by us going to referendum every year and down the school budget, which is 80% of this town's budget. And that's a promise. And when I make a promise, I keep it. So we can fool around, you can charge us, you're just gonna meet us in court. Plain and simple, cut and dry. And I've said this to Martha, and I say it in deepest part of my heart. I've been here my whole life in Soundview, my whole life, 75 years old. We have to do this the proper way. You don't put it on the homeowner's back. This is a town project, the town of Old Lyme, Dr. T, not Dennis Maluzzo, not Mary Daly. No one came to my house and said I was polluted. So you guys are in the driver's seat. You want to fix this? Fix it now before it goes any farther and be done with it.
If you are inaccurate in stating that they're giving tax money back to you. The CWF fund is a self-revolving fund. The 2% interest in the repayment of loans plus the 2% is reinvested in other sewer systems. So it is not taxpayer funds. It's public funds, but it's not taxpayer. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out here. I guess we're completed with the meeting. Thank you very much.
Those of you that had questions online that raised your hand, chat is turned off. I'm going to ask you to email your questions to the selectman's office, and we will do our best to answer and get back to you. The phone number, I will endeavor to give you a call tomorrow. Brian, if you may email yours, and Jim Fazzino, I'd appreciate it.